Is it like wet, or is that just what it looks like?
What do you mean? Is it what?
Like wet?
No, it's not wet. That's just what it looks like.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
Hello, De Niro Nation, and welcome to another episode of Our Hero De Niro. I am Mike, joined as ever by my co-host Mike.
No relation.
No relation. And exciting day today. I mean, you already know this because you saw the title of the episode. We are here today to discuss 2004's Shark Tale, starring Robert De Niro. Mike, had you ever seen this film before we watched it together? I should say for this podcast.
This is one of those rare and pleasant instances where we saw it together with Caroline as well.
AKA Badcree.
Yeah, I mean, this film is from 2004, so I was roughly 14 years old back then when it came out, and I did see it in theaters.
You were 8.
Yeah. No, that's a long time running joke for those who don't remember all of our recurring bits. I think it's a real testament to star power, which feels like a thing that used to exist more than it does now. Like now it's all influencers and micro stars, and the closest thing we have to a real Hollywood A-lister is Glenn Powell, who I think exudes no charisma, but who is really being propped up by the industry as the second coming of Christ.
He just makes like a scrunchy face all the time. Like,
he's got those small eyes and a square jaw.
Eyes. It makes him look scrunchy faced. Yeah.
Right. The thing about Glenn Powell is that I don't even know if I like him or dislike him. He just has a really good agent. He managed to get attached to all of these legacy sequels and reboots of old franchises. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I liked him in Top Gun Maverick because I really like Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, yeah.
Or he's the star of Twisters, but people saw Twisters. But was that because he was in it, or because it was just a legacy sequel to a movie that people liked from the 90s? I think was probably awful. The latter. Yeah, I did not think it was as good as the first Twister film. But Shark Tale is 2004 DreamWorks film, and it starred Will Smith. And I think there was a certain novelty to seeing Will Smith do an animated film like this. And I think that is part of why adolescent me chose to see that film in theaters. I remember not really liking it back then. I felt pretty lukewarm on it. So I'm excited to revisit it and to have rewatched it for this podcast. What about you?
No, I certainly had never seen this movie before. Sorry, I just saw some news. I just looked over at a window on my screen and I just saw this article. It's actually kind of fascinating.
Why do you have the news open?
No, I have all my windows open. Like,
why?
Here's what my screen looked like.
My God.
Okay. It looked like this. And I looked over and I saw this headline. Hope you find a way to work this into.
That seems extremely unlikely. Hey, maybe you should minimize extraneous windows when you're recording the podcast. Do you ever think about doing
that? That's the kind of thing that you do. That's not the kind of thing that I do.
Yeah, but it seems like you should, since you've already derailed the recording 5 minutes in.
I remember exactly where we were. Anyway,
when windows that I have open: Audacity, my notes, and the video chat. That's it. I'm locked in. I'm a fucking pro.
I'm really happy for you.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had never seen this movie. And to be honest, I don't really actually know if I was aware of this movie's existence. Like, really? I understand from you, right? Because you have a lot more kind of Gen Z friends in your life than I do due to being in a grad school program, that this is like a kind of meme movie, right? Like, I think it's sort of in the same category as B movie or something like that. I think it's less of a kind of like memeable cult classic than B movie is. But like, I've definitely heard of B movie, right? I've seen the memes. It's possible that I had never heard of this movie. I think I may have been vaguely aware of its existence before we watched it for this.
That's odd. I feel like this is peak. We're talking 2004. I feel like this is peak DreamWorks,
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel kind of like I felt the same way about DreamWorks films back then as I do now, which is like,
they're not very good.
I like Shrek.
Yeah.
But I've never even seen like How to Train Your Dragon, for example, which is supposed to be really good.
I also haven't seen that.
Seeing The Wild Robot last year set me back 10 years on seeing How to Train Your Dragon, because the reception on the part of the critics and like the general sort of popular consensus on that film was very similar to the positive reception and popular consensus about How to Train Your Dragon. And I think we've talked about it once or twice in the podcast before. The Wild Robot fucking blew. Like, not only like it wasn't even that it wasn't what it was communicated to me by the sort of conversation that it was, which was a DreamWorks film that was almost as good as Pixar. It was like actually actively bad, like below a 50% for me in terms of like its quality as a film. So no, I don't really care about DreamWorks movies, honestly, and I don't think I did. I did back then either. I'm a Pixar head.
I was. That's a whole other conversation. We'll save that for another time.
I really wish that Robert De Niro was in a Pixar film, so we'd have a reason to have a whole discussion about Pixar on this podcast. But
that's true.
Maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't. So anyway, a little bit of stuff about this film. So to your point, it's got a pretty stacked cast: Will Smith, Jack Black, Renee Zellweger, Michael Imperioli, more recently of White Lotus fame, but at the time, coming off, I think. Let me think about the timing. No, we would have been in the middle of the Sopranos run, right, in 2004. So he was really at the peak of his fame, starring as Chris Moltisanti in The Sopranos. Probably, I'm guessing like season 4 or season 5, probably around 2004.
I don't know. Who knows?
I think it was probably about then. Angelina Jolie, and then of course, and how could we not mention Robert De Niro? So to your earlier comment, a lot of star power in this film. And while this was a critical bomb with a 35 on Rotten Tomatoes and a 48 on Metacritic, it was a pretty wild box office success. I didn't know this, and when I looked it up earlier today, I was pretty surprised. On a budget of $75 million, the worldwide gross on this was $375 million. Opening weekend alone, $48 million. That's kind of unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying about star power. Like Will Smith was one of the last remaining, like who? Will Smith, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise might be, one of the last holding on. So I think it was actually a big deal that he was starring in an animated film.
Yeah, I mean, he may go back to animated films now, right? Given the kind of nadir that his career appears to be in at this present moment in the light of the slap.
Yeah, we wish him the best of luck.
We certainly do. I'm a Will Smith fan. Anywho, so that's some stuff about it. And to, I think, my earlier comment about my thinking that maybe the first time I'd heard about this film was you talking to me about it in the context of a Gen Z friend of yours, friend of the pod, Zoe. I understand this is a bit of a cult classic among, the kind of, I think, older Gen Z folks who would have been young kids to kind of like pre-adolescence in the time when this film came out. So interesting movie. You think we should just get into the plot summary? Or you have anything else you want to say about it?
Oh, let's get into it, man. I'm rearing and ready to go. Or is it raring? Right. I don't actually know.
Raring.
I'm both.
It's raring.
Well, I'm both.
Raring is like kind of like getting fired up. Anyway, we got some characters in this film, right? We've got Oscar.
It's usually how it works.
Yep. And then we have our other kind of main character is this gentleman named Lenny, who's played by Jack Black. And he's a killer shark, but he's a vegetarian. And so a lot of the central conflict of this film comes down to this character, Lenny, whose father is Don Lino, local crime boss. There's some kind of shark syndicate that basically runs the broader criminal enterprise in this undersea city that these fish all live in. So he's Don Lino's son, and Don Lino is obviously a violent killer shark who's made his way in the world by being a violent criminal, and he's got some conflict and some issues with his son's vegetarianism and erstwhile pacifism. And then you've got Angie, played by Renee Zellweger. She's a fish lady who works with Oscar at it's the whale wash, right? The car wash that they all work at. And she is Oscar's best friend from his perspective, but she harbors a secret love for him. She's got some unrequited love going on there. You've got Lola, who's like a hot fish, who's played by Angelina Jolie, who's Will Smith, Oscar's love interest for much of the film. And then you've got Frankie, played by Michael Imperioli, who is, at least for the first portion of the film, Lenny's older brother, Robert De Niro's other son, who's following more in his father's footsteps in the way that his father would want him to. So that's kind of our main cast of characters.
Okay.
What a group of characters.
Sure.
So the film starts, and Oscar works at this car wash.
You did like the equivalent of when a film has like the long opening credit sequence, where it just shows everyone's names and roles and starring and Angelina Jolie as Lola.
That's what you get when you come to Our Hero De Niro, and when you have to listen to me do a recap about a film that had so little an effect on me. That my understanding of it is like totally clinical. I have like no emotional attachment to anything that happened in this film. So I'm just given a paint by numbers. This is what happened. Summary of who was in this movie and what happened.
You might need to, change your address or enter witness protection after this, because I think the Gen Zers are going to try to tar and feather you for this view that you're expressing.
No, it's why it's important to me that I've met Zoe by the time this comes out, because I think I really need to have gotten in some FaceTime and ingratiated myself to her, because I think that when she listens to this podcast episode and hears mine certainly, but I'm guessing your as well, take on this film as a kind of an artifact of criticism for this podcast, it's not going to be a positive reaction. So I think it's important that she likes me.
Yeah.
So anyway, Oscar is he's kind of a fucking loser, right? Like, he's not a bad guy, but he seems like he's kind of lazy and rudderless, and just he has a lot of big ambitions, but he hasn't found a way to translate these ambitions into anything meaningful. There's a moment in the beginning of the film, and I thought this was kind of sad actually, but I think it's played for laughs a little bit, where Oscar talks about how growing up, his dad was employee of the month like every month at the whale wash, and Oscar was so proud of his dad and like loved him so much and thought he was so cool that he just wanted to work at the whale wash when he grew up. And then there was a like show and tell day at school or something like that, and he brought in a picture of his dad to talk about how he was so proud of him for being the employee of the month for so long at the whale wash, and all of his friends laughed at him, and it made him realize that his dad was actually a loser. And I was like, I don't know, man, that's pretty fucking dark. Like, it sounds like your dad was a good guy. Like, he just like worked hard at his job. It's not a bad job. Somebody's got to do it, right? Wash the whale's teeth.
I mean, I completely agree with you, first of all, but now that you've said that and I'm thinking about it a little more, I am kind of thinking it was kind of Oscar's dad's responsibility to say like, yeah, like I'm working an honest job. I'm making an honest day's living, but you're going to school, right? Yep. You should aspire to more, like I'm working this job so that you could be a doctor or whatever it might be, not just, I want my kid to be exactly the same as me socioeconomically. But yes, point taken. I think it's one of many things, one of many elements in this film that is darker than you would expect, considering the fact that it is like a PG CGI kids film.
DreamWorks movie.
Yeah.
Yep. That's very true. So Oscar wants to be somebody, right? He says that constantly, and so he's in debt to this loan shark guy named Sykes, who's played by Martin Scorsese, who is also the head of the whale wash that he works at. And so he's about to have this debt called in, and it's something really bad is going to happen to him. I can't remember exactly what. And so Angie gives Oscar, I think it was like a ring or something, right? Like, to pawn, so that he can repay the debt, but he decides to bet it all on this seahorse race, instead. And the seahorse that he bet on ends up losing. So that's the first part of the narrative, right? That's the first like 15 minutes of like Oscar's arc. During this period of the film where Oscar's arc is being set up, we're having scenes interspersed where we're being introduced to the Shark family. So there's Don Lino, Robert De Niro, and then there's Frankie, the kind of son, the favorite son, as it were, the one who's like Don Lino wants him to be. And then there's Lenny, the vegetarian son. And let's just say this now. We noticed this, right? We observed it while we were watching the film, and then I was reading about it a little bit online as well. So I think part of where this film's status as like a kind of quasi cult classic, I think, has come from is the fact that it's very easy to see Lenny's vegetarianism in contrast to his father's expectations and his family's expectations and societal expectations as an allegory for being LGBTQIA plus and potentially coming out to your family or to society at large. I think that's interesting. I'm not sure that I see that it was intentional, but I don't know. What do you think about the gay allegory dimension of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie that's about being true to yourself, living your truth, whatever that may be. So, maybe he's gay, maybe he's not. I mean, I think in the movie, yeah, but yeah, I think it's that sort of simple message that feels a little tacked on. It's interesting the way you're kind of jumping around through this narrative. I have so many things I want to say right now. I feel like you just blazed through the first 20 minutes of the film.
I think this is an easy 5-minute recap if we play it right. So you choose how long.
I want to do this film justice, man. This is literally our most requested episode ever. So one, De Niro face reveal. It's computer generated in this case, but it occurs at 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and they gave him the De Niro mole. So that's fun.
I did love that.
Two, I have to say, Sykes, played by Marty Scorsese, actually my favorite voice performance in the film. I thought he was fantastic in the role. He was very, very animated. I thought he took to it very naturally. I thought it was a really fun performance. He plays a blowfish. So anytime he, becomes agitated or whatever, or a pufferfish, he puffs up. That's pretty fun visually. But I thought he was, I get why they hired him. It feels a little stunt casty, him, De Niro, because they're doing this animated film that involves the mob. But I thought he was actually quite capable as a voice actor. So I was quite happy to see him or hear him. I should
He's
say.
A very talented actor. He's a very multi-talented guy. I agree. His performance in this film is excellent.
The other thing I want to say about the first 20 minutes of this film is when we are first introduced to Oscar, it's like a fake out. He's doing his own pretend version of MTV Cribs. And so you think you're seeing some illustrious apartment with a 60-inch television, which was big back in 2004 and is still the size that I have in my apartment. I'm going to have it until it dies.
Small for me, though. A lot smaller than my TV.
Well, you sit closer, it seems just as big. But we see that it's a fake out. He's actually in front of a billboard and he's, this poor whale washer guy, whatever. And this is just the first of many very dated feeling cultural references. It's something that I really dislike about DreamWorks and Illumination films compared to Disney Pixar films, that it's a 2004 movie. We already get an MTV Cribs reference. We get a lot of then modern needle drops, a lot of modern or early aughts R&B, pop, that sort of stuff. And I feel like it dates the film as soon as it's released.
That's really true.
This is kind of like watching a time capsule, and I don't mean that in a positive way. There's no timelessness the way that there is with any of the early classic Pixar films.
Right. You watch Up now, and there's really nothing in Up that would make you feel like it couldn't have come out yesterday.
Right.
It's like, I guess you could tell the animation is a little dated because it's almost 20 years old. But in terms of the story, the characters, the subject matter, the set pieces, all that stuff, it's like there is a real timelessness to it that I think it renders it easier for these things to end up in the canon. Whereas no DreamWorks film other than Shrek is ever going into the canon.
Right.
Shrek has that timelessness as well, for what it's worth. It has some, I think, time-bound pop culture references, but I think that the pop culture references it makes are they have a ubiquity to them, right? In the sort of cultural consciousness, such that it doesn't date it in the same way as the things that this film references, and to your point, other DreamWorks and Illumination films do, that are they're just the things that were big then. Right. And a lot of those things did not stay big. We're just lucky, for example, that Missy Elliott is still a very famous person. She could not still be a very famous person. And you'd watch this movie and you'd be like, who the fuck is Missy Elliott? What is this? But that is kind of classic. Missy Elliott. She stayed a major pop culture figure over the past 20 years. But there's all kinds of stuff like that in these films.
Right.
And it isn't good.
Nowadays, you would ask ChatGPT, who was Missy Elliott?
You have anything else you want to add before I continue?
No, I'll just note that I'll give Jack Black credit because this is a film that is this is a film that makes a big deal out of its celebrity cast. And to Jack Black's credit, he's at least doing a voice for Lenny. He's not just Jack Black being Jack Black. So I did appreciate that. Like Will Smith, Oscar is just Will Smith as a poor fish.
He for literally better or for worse. Like he's just being Will Smith. Like it's just the character. Like the character is so similar to the character of Will from Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
Like he's just like playing like that sort of like youthful character he played back in.
Right. He's doing the Will Smith thing. Right. In animated form.
Yep. That's going to be my recommendation. Actually, is going to be the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
The entire series.
If you love Shark Tale, let me turn you on to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because like it's a lot better than this movie, and there's a ton of it.
Love the Fresh Prince.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. There aren't any bad episodes.
It used to play after we got out of school back in high school, and I feel like me and one of my neighbors, we would watch it at my place pretty regularly. So I think I've seen the whole series. Really good stuff.
That was a common after school show for me. It's pretty friggin' awesome.
Yeah,
it's a really really good show. So anyway, at the same time as the Oscar narrative I explained was happening, we're meeting the Sharks, right? So our first introduction to the Sharks is Don Lino and Frankie and Lenny. They're all at dinner at some fancy restaurant together, and they're eating shrimp. And Lenny is refusing to eat the shrimp. He's trying to make excuses about how he's like on a diet and like you don't know how many calories are in this thing or whatever. And it's like a little funny, I guess. Jack Black's performance is good. Something I'm wondering about, since you pointed out Jack Black's performance being good, was Jack Black really famous in 2004? When did School of Rock come out?
I think School of Rock was like 2003.
So he was big because when Tenacious D was really popular when you and me were kids, that was still relatively cult fame for Jack Black, right? Like it's like Tenacious D was popular among like weirdo kids like you and me who like liked that kind of stuff. But like it wasn't until School of Rock that he became like, and now he's obviously like a gigastar, like he's fucking Bowser in the Mario movie. But like,
right,
School of Rock was what really put him on the map, and he became like a famous comedian and singer and actor. Correct?
Yeah, I just double checked too. That did come out in 2003.
Okay, so he was famous, but it's interesting to think like. He really was kind of the small fish, I guess, no pun intended, in this cast, right? Like his fame was new, whereas all these other folks, especially I think Will Smith and Robert De Niro were very well established, like big box office stars by this point. And so they may have just felt, I think probably rightfully so, that they didn't need to put as much effort into this. Whereas like this was an opportunity. People were going to come to see this movie that Jack Black was going to do a great voice performance in because Will Smith and Robert De Niro were in it. So maybe he had to like show up a little bit more, and like this was exposure for him.
But it makes me wonder, we'll probably never get another animated Will Smith film, but it makes me wonder, I mean, I guess he was the genie in that live action Aladdin reboot, and that was CGI, but ignoring that, I'm never going to watch that. Ignoring that, it makes me wonder, could Will Smith deliver a good voice acting performance? Because the thing is, with Shark Tale, based on just everything about this film and the way that it was made and marketed, I'm sure the creative team probably told him in the recording booth, like, just do your Will Smith thing, like be Will Smith. And he was happy to oblige.
Yep. He's just getting himself pumped up, like, listening to his favorite clips of Fresh Prince before he goes into the voice recording studio.
They wheeled in a little CRT TV, and it was just playing the VHS of Men in Black 1 on repeat, like silently while he was recording.
Yeah. Yeah. This character is more Will from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air than Agent J. I couldn't remember what the first letter of his name was, and I haven't seen Men in Black in so long. That should be a recommendation for today. Honestly, it's not
that would be a good one.
Man, the first Men in Black, unofficial recommendation, like total banger of a film if you've never seen
really
it. Like
great film.
That is an incredible movie. Oh my god, so much to love about it. Anyway. So we're meeting these characters, right? And we are being kind of introduced to the central conceit of these characters, which is that, Lenny is the black sheep in his family. He's a good guy. His dad obviously really loves him. But his dad has domineering expectations of the way that he wants him to be in the world and in their family. And they are kind of at loggerheads a little bit because of that. And then you have the older brother character, Frankie, who doesn't seem to have a lot of time for Lenny. He doesn't really seem to even have the soft love or affection for him that the Don Lino character does, and we'll talk a little bit more about kind of the way that all shapes up in a couple minutes. It's really fascinating. Like, yeah, you're right. I wasn't really thinking about it while we were watching it, and I don't think I even acknowledged it in my mind until you made the observation when I talked about the car wash dad picture show and tell thing earlier. This is a dark movie. There's lots of like really, really dark thematic and like psychological material in this film. Like, it's kind of fucking bizarre. It's a really weird movie.
I think that's how I felt about it when I watched it back in 2004, and it's all I've been thinking about. Like, every time I think about this film, I just think about how weird it is tonally for an animated kids film to deal with this sort of subject matter, which I'm excited to get more into.
Yeah. So for maybe first time listeners to this episode or people who haven't put this together. So I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I have been wondering, like, what will be the first film that we watch where we can watch it with her and have her do a little guest spot on the podcast?
Oh, yeah.
And Caroline suggested Shark Tale as a potential version for that. And I was like, I don't think so. Shark Tale's rated PG. Like, I don't know anything really about the film, but there's got to be a reason why it's rated PG that presumably would render it, thematically, visually, whatever, inappropriate for our 3-year-old daughter. And I was certainly correct.
Absolutely, man.
There's a lot of ground.
I could have told you
that would be upsetting.
Caroline has also seen this film, and she apparently has a photographic memory. I'm surprised that she didn't think about like the murder or any of the violence or scary things that happen in this film, and think, no, that's good.
Yeah, she's a strange lady. So whatever, this all happens. It doesn't matter. So this is the conflict, right? So now the two stories they're going to come together. So we learned earlier that Oscar's seahorse lost the race, and so now his debt is being called in. And so Oscar's story is coming together with the shark's story. So there is this thing that happens where Sykes, the loan shark, and Oscar's boss calls these like two jellyfish enforcers. These are the Rastafarian characters, right?
They sure are, man. They sure are.
These two Rastafarian jellyfish enforcers to rough up Oscar. And as the roughing up is happening, the Shark Boys, Lenny and Frankie, come upon them. And I don't really understand like exactly what happened here. Like, why was this just a coincidence?
It's coincidence.
They happened to like bump into each other. Yeah. Well, they bump into each other. And so Frankie takes this as an opportunity to try to like get Lenny to be a tough shark. He's like, go eat this fish, like Oscar, like whatever. And so they have an argument about whether Lenny is going to do this. And while they're having this argument, this is so fucking stupid when I describe it out loud. Like, I can't believe this is actually what happens in the movie. Just by total coincidence, a giant ship over them drops its anchor, and it falls on Frankie and crushes him to death. And so this is what I referenced earlier. So when Frankie is dying of being crushed by the anchor, he like whispers to Lenny, like, come close, Lenny, come close. Like, it's like an emotional, moving death scene. And then he says something mean to Lenny right before he dies, right? Do you remember what he says?
No.
It doesn't really matter. But that's the point, is that like you think in the scene that this is going to be a moment where Frankie's like, hey, Lenny, like, you and me, we never saw eye to eye, but like I always loved you and like I hope you have a good life or whatever. But like, no, he just like says something mean to him and then he dies. So that's all we ever know about this character, is that like, oh, I guess he never loved his brother. Like it's really fascinating. Really fascinating stuff. And so somehow Oscar in this moment contrives to basically lie and say not that the anchor fell and crushed Frankie, but that he killed Frankie. And so now he uses this to develop a reputation for himself in the community as a shark killer. So we're kind of moving into the next, I think, big portion of the film here. We've had our setup. You have anything else you want to say about all this stuff?
I don't even know, man. The way you're summing this up, you skipped the Angelina Jolie introduction.
All right, go ahead. Tell me about it.
Well, Jesus Christ. When Oscar's at the racetrack, he gets money from Angie, Renee Zellweger, to repay Sykes the loan shark. And instead he decides
he gets the
well, whatever, it's worth money.
The thing that she gave. I said that, by the way.
Well, when he's doing that, he places a huge bet on a horse with 200 to 1 odds. And that's when we're introduced to Angelina Jolie's character, Lola. And I want to comment on it because I truly hated this portion of the film, this introductory scene. The way they introduce her, it's to some song. I don't know what the song is. I don't care. But it's this extended montage where Oscar is kind of like, has hearts in his eyes and he's freaking out. Yeah, he's falling.
Head,
But we always see it's like a gradient background, and we just see these shots of Lola dancing, and they just kind of fade in and out for what feels like an eternity. And it's so weird. It takes way too long. It's annoying, and it's like oddly suggestive. It's weird. It's just a weird scene. I wasn't sure why it was there. I thought it was terrible. I really didn't like it.
Yeah, I agree. It didn't really make an impression on me, though. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I also, I don't appreciate this derisive tone you're taking toward me when you have to interject, color and filler into my recaps, because, I feel like oftentimes this is the level of detail that you bring to really meaty discussions of excellent films with a lot to really unpack. And I don't take a tone with you. I'm just light ribbing, but I'm just happy to provide assistance, help out my buddy Mike, no relation, when he's missing some details in his plot summaries. And I don't know.
That's the yin and yang. But I'm going through the film linearly. I'm giving you those opportunities. Yeah. Well, I've heard it both ways. And I'm giving you the opportunity to jump in. It's like double Dutch. You're going all over the place. You're Rochambeauing it. It's hard for me to jump in when you skip from one moment in the film to another one. That's a reference for anyone who listened to the very end of our Sleepers episode. You'll understand why I'm using the term Rochambeau. But whatever. Continue with the recap.
Sure. Okay.
Most requested episode ever.
Now Oscar has, he's taken on this moniker, right? The Shark Slayer. Mm-hmm. And so he instantly becomes this like huge local hero celebrity. And so now he's got Sykes, Martin Scorsese, who's decided that he's going to be his manager. And they have this disagreement about what the kind of split in royalties is going to be for any stuff that Oscar does. And this also, of course, overnight, instantly like makes the whale wash blow up, right? Like it's like this local hotspot now because it's the place where Oscar, the Shark Slayer, and his manager Sykes work. So now Oscar is rich and successful. He moves into a penthouse that I think is probably meant to be the penthouse that he was pretending to live in front of the billboard at the beginning of the film, right? That's foreshadowing. That's beautiful stuff. Something that you don't usually notice when you're watching a film. And now Lola is interested in him, right? The Angelina Jolie character, because she's shallow and she's only interested in sexy, famous, successful people, whereas Angie always loved Oscar, even when he was a layabout loser. The other thing that I want to say is I want to make sure I'm really clear about why it is that I think that Oscar is a loser. I don't think that Oscar is a loser because he has a relatively menial job that doesn't pay very well, or because he wants more. I think he's a loser because he's like acquisitive, and because he's the kind of person who would take this quick path to success. Right. Like,
absolutely.
He's obviously a man with self-control issues. Like his a sensible best friend and a lady who's pretty obviously in love with him, gives him something that is really valuable to her to get him out of a jam. And his immediate instinct is to go and bet it not only on a horse, but on a horse, to your point, with very long odds. It's like, what kind of fucking dipshit acts this way?
Right. He's a deadbeat gambling addict. He is late to work, and Angie has to cover for him and sign him in early. Constantly. It's like a recurring thing. He gambles away the ring, so he can't help himself in that moment either. Bets on a horse with horrible odds, so I don't think he's particularly good at gambling or has good instincts. And it's another one of these more mature adult themes where I'm going to harp on this a lot, especially in my final discussion about the film. There's this dissonance between this ostensibly being a kid's PG animated, bright colored CGI film, and our protagonist is this lazy gambling addict with pie in the sky aspirations, and we're dealing with the mob and loan sharks, and it's just so incongruent. It's so weird. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, these are all good. These are all good thoughts. Yeah, I think this is great. We're doing like a little bit of a role reversal in this movie. You're saying all kinds of like, really thoughtful, insightful things. And like I said, this made no impression on me. So I didn't really feel any of these feelings while I was watching it. So where are we now? So Oscar has this life, right? But it's totally superficial and totally fake. And so it creates a schism between him and Angie. She really doesn't like who he's become, right? This kind of fake version of himself. She liked the old Oscar.
Why did she like the old one?
I don't know. I mean, we like who we like, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Presumably she saw some decency or heart in him, which obviously is there because, like, spoiler alert, right? Like, this film is going to have a happy ending. He's going to become a better person at the end. So, like, there must have been something in him that she saw. But, like, yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Like, there's, like, nothing appealing about him at the beginning of the film. So, like, I don't know, what was she looking at? So, meanwhile, other plot, right? The sharks. Lenny never returned to Don Lino after Frankie was killed. And so he's on the run. He's hiding from his father. And so he contacts Oscar, and the two of them come up with this harebrained scheme because Oscar is worrying that without other shark slaying bona fides to his name, his reputation as the shark slayer is going to fall apart relatively quickly. And meanwhile, Lenny's like, well, like, how long can I really run, right? I think I might need to fake my death so I can get away from my family and be able to live out my vegetarian dreams in peace. So they make this pact that they're going to stage a conflict, and in this conflict, Oscar is going to appear to credibly kill Lenny. So he's faking his death, Lenny is, and Oscar is getting to chalk up another shark kill on his KD. Yeah. So
360 no scope.
Oh, you gotta do it. So after they do this, Lenny disguises himself as a dolphin. This was maybe my favorite thing about the movie, honestly. I really, really liked the way Lenny looked as a dolphin. I thought it was pretty funny. He paints himself like blue, and he has like I think like some kind of rubber band or something right around the base of his little shark snout. Yeah. What's a shark snout called? You probably just called a snout, honestly. I don't know. Yeah. Caroline just closed the door. She popped in. I could have asked her when she was here. That's great. She would definitely know what a shark snout was called.
Hey everyone, this is Mike back at you, coming at you live from the edit bay to tell you that a shark snout is typically called a rostrum. In scientific terms, the rostrum refers to the forward projecting part of a shark's head, which includes the area above and around the mouth and nostrils. The shape and size of the rostrum can vary quite a bit depending on the species. For example, hammerhead sharks have a highly specialized, flattened rostrum. Hope you learned something new. And now, back to your regularly scheduled episode.
To turn it into, a longer, thinner, like elongated dolphin snout. It's funny. It's pretty cute. It made me chuckle when I saw it. Did you like the Lenny dolphin makeup?
It's one of those things that I didn't really notice. I kind of noticed. I knew the color changed. I wasn't paying close attention at that point.
Yeah.
I'm colorblind. I'm colorblind, man,
I thought the elongated nose was pretty notable. And so in his disguise as a dolphin, now Lenny the dolphin is working at the whale wash with Oscar. And so this was a moment, right? I turned to you and Caroline while we were watching the movie, and I was like, what was the plan here? Because what happens next is so obvious that even Oscar, seemingly one of the stupidest characters in cinematic history, should have predicted it happen. When I asked you this question, your response was, well, I think he thought they'd be scared off by this, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, why did Oscar think he could develop a reputation as having killed the only two sons of the local crime boss, and that there would be no recompense, that there wouldn't be any kind of revenge taken here.
It means omerta. It means rewenge.
Right. Right. He's built a reputation as being a shark killer and is now a celebrity. He's a public-facing individual. People know where he is all the time. Yeah. And he knows he's not actually a shark killer. So shouldn't he be freaking the fuck out every waking moment?
Right. And he never is. So anyway, like I said, so now, of course, Don Lino and the Shark Syndicate are very angry about these killings of the kind of heirs of this crime family. And so Don Lino is going to come to the reef that Oscar lives in, and he's going to confront Oscar and kill him. And so let's think about how this all happened here. We're going to get through all this pretty quick.
Jesus Christ.
So there's a party. Right? There's like a big party they're having at Oscar's house. And so at this party, Oscar is canoodling with Lola, and Angie is really upset about the canoodling. And so she confronts Oscar and confesses her love for him. He says, like, you know, she's like, why are you so fake now? Blah, 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 etc. Something to that effect. And he's like, well, I have to be. Nobody loved me before I was like this. And she's like, I loved you. And so they have this confrontation, and it's giving Oscar pause about this way that he's living, right? He's like, I think after this discussion he and Angie have, he's kind of repulsed by Lola. He sees like the truth of the like facsimile of himself he's allowed himself to become, in light of these events. And before anything nice can happen as a result of that, the sharks come, right? So Don Lino comes, and he kidnaps Angie as some kind of like, I guess, coup to try to get Oscar to come and confront him. And so he and Lenny devise this plan where they are going to go together to rescue Angie. They go to the whale wash where Don Lino has Angie held prisoner, and they have this showdown, and Oscar confronts him. And in the ensuing showdown, I don't remember exactly how it happened. Like, I think maybe Lenny the dolphin says something, and Don Lino recognizes his voice and realizes that this dolphin who's talking is actually his ostensibly dead son. And so the jig is kind of up, and Oscar tells the truth. He's like, oh, I never killed any sharks, like it was all a lie, and explains that Lenny is alive. He's the dolphin, and he only faked his own death because he doesn't know how to be true to himself and be a vegetarian in this crime syndicate family that he's a part of. Lenny finally stands up for himself directly to Don Lino, and he's like, no, like, I don't want to be a killer shark. I want to be a vegetarian. And ultimately, Don Lino begrudgingly accepts this divergence in kind of lifestyle preference that he and his son have. Oscar gives a public apology to everything that happened, and so his fame erodes away based on him having admitted that none of this happens. He and Angie reconcile. She forgives him. He buys the whale wash and becomes very proud to like be a part of the whale wash, essentially. So he's like kind of being true again to himself and to the love that he had for his father and the pride that he felt in the work when he was a kid. And he and Angie are together, and Lenny works at whale wash, and he's a vegetarian. And that's Shark Tale. And at the end, that Missy Elliott song happens.
Yeah, it's a cover of Car Wash.
Yep. What was it called? Whale Wash?
I think they just said Car Wash. They probably didn't call it Whale Wash.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. That's Shark Tale. You have anything else you want to add? I think that was our most succinct recap.
Yeah, man. I don't know why the fuck you recapped it the way you did. You like speed recapped this of all films that we're doing for the podcast. Did you take any notes or anything?
No. I did a pretty good job, actually, didn't I?
No, man. I thought that was pretty fucking rough. Like, I couldn't jump in with any of my comments because you just condensed the recap so much. You didn't talk about scenes. You talked about like collections of 20-minute portions of the film.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I remember it, honestly.
You need to take notes or something when you recap. I think it's okay when you're like jumping in on my like linear recaps.
Well, you're probably right.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It'll be a nice 45-minute episode of the podcast.
Anything you want to add?
And no, I don't even fucking know, man. Like, what's the point? Let's just move on to the next section.
What is the next section? Is it our final thoughts and ratings?
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. So that was Shark Tale. Mike, what did you think of Shark Tale? And I'm curious to know, because over 20 years passed between when you watched this as a child and when you watched it last week with me as an adult man approaching middle age. What did you think of it then, and what did you think of it now?
Yeah, I mean, I think 14-year-old me probably would have given it a 2.5 or 3 out of 5. I remember feeling pretty cool on the movie, not really caring for it. Now my rating is slightly lower. I'm going with a 2 out of 5. So there are a few reasons for this. I have a few serious problems with this film. I was excited to rewatch it because it is, I'm not joking, it is our most requested episode ever, and good job doing it justice with the recap. My first problem with this film is this incongruity between the animation and the style of the film. Like it's so bright and slick in that early aughts CGI like kind of way, but we're dealing with a film that has to do with the mob, loan sharks, all this adult thematic content. And there were various points during the film where I was not paying the closest attention. My mind was kind of wandering off, and I was thinking, would this have worked better as a live action film if you tried to make it a drama instead of a comedy? I feel like you'd have the bones of a pretty serious dramatic film. Like these two characters, Oscar, this young streetwise guy with these big aspirations who can't get out of the hood, and Lenny, the misunderstood son of a local mob boss, their paths converging. Maybe that would make for an actual like better film in live action. So I thought that was kind of weird. I also didn't have much opportunity to comment on this during the recap, but I really disliked the amount of real world references and needle drops. I really don't like when animated films do that. I think Illumination films nowadays, they do that a lot, and the Minions films, stuff like that. But this film relied so heavily on real world references that I was never able to fully suspend my disbelief and really immerse myself in the world of Reef City that had been created for the film. You watch a Pixar film like Finding Nemo or whatever, and you're able to suspend your disbelief and buy into the reality that the film creates. But here, I just keep thinking, oh yeah, it's Angelina Jolie. Oh yeah, Will Smith, he's really Will Smithing it. Or oh yeah, that is a modern song that we're hearing. And it had... For example, when Lenny and Oscar have their fake fight in the middle of Reef City for everyone to see, we hear the Junkie XL remix of A Little Less Conversation, which I remember was everywhere in the early 2000s. And so to hear that in this film just pulled me out of the film during the climax or during one of the major set pieces, because I was just thinking like, oh yeah, I remember when I had that on my iPad Nano back in the day, or whatever it was in 2004. So there were just a lot of little moments like that. So really, what kind of kills the film for me and why I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 has to do with this dissonance between the slick animation and the fact that it's ostensibly a kid's film with the fact that it's dealing with so many gritty adult themes. I think it's really jarring, and I was never able to gel with it. So 2 out of 5 for me. What about you? What do you give this film?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting way to talk about it, I think. I'm taking a moment to kind of reflect on everything that you just said. So something I know about this film, right, is that it was directed by 3 people. So do you think that this was a product of like creation by committee? Like it's like they had this idea that they wanted to do like a slightly more gritty, slightly more like rooted in reality DreamWorks kids movie, because tonally it's kind of similar to Shrek, right? But it's like way less fun and way less funny.
Yeah.
Because Shrek 2, right? Like it's like a PG rated, ostensibly like maybe like pre-adolescence, like adolescence movie that has a lot of dark themes, subject matter, visuals, etc. But it works, right? I haven't watched Shrek in a really long time. Here's a question for you. Is Shrek a good movie? I haven't seen it in like at least 10 years. You think Shrek's good? When did you last watch it?
I think it was a few years ago, right? Did we not see
was
it
together?
Good? I don't.
Did we watch Shrek together?
It was either Shrek or Shrek 2. And I remember whichever one we watched, not thinking it was very good. It might have been Shrek 2.
Yeah. We were in Boston, right? That was the day that we played Frisbee, and you looked up a YouTube video about how to throw a Frisbee.
I forgot how to throw a Frisbee. That's right. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was probably 10 years ago, just so you know. Weird to say, but that was at least 10 years ago, probably. Yep.
Oh, that
was what I was thinking of, just so you know. Like, there's no way that was after 2015.
You're wrong, though. That's when we tried watching Austin Powers.
Okay.
I think Shrek was New Orleans.
So more recently then, so less than 10 years ago. So we watched it at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I have a lot of positive memories of Shrek, but maybe Shrek isn't a good movie. So this is, I guess, maybe just what DreamWorks was trying to do at the time. And I guess I would hypothesize that maybe like one or two of this committee who directed this film wanted it to be like more of like a gritty, serious script. And they had some requirement from the studio or maybe from the other person who was involved that it be more kid friendly and like brightly colored and bubbly and happy. Like it really does feel like kind of a mess, just tonally.
Yeah, I think it's a fundamental flaw to the film.
Yep.
It's a creative choice, but I think it's a poor creative choice. And the only analogy really in the film is Lenny's vegetarianism being an analogy for whatever, living your truth.
Yep.
But beyond that, everything else isn't really an analogy. It's just an ocean version of reality, of life in New York City. Sometimes they do the clever fish pun names. Oh, the car wash is a whale wash, but that's not even clever, by the way. That's not even clever. But yeah, everything else, it's like, oh, they just have a functioning Italian mob, and Oscar just is a guy who works at a car wash. I don't find it very interesting.
It's fascinating too, because I kind of felt like this while I was watching it, but I didn't check. And so I just did for the first time. And I have something I want to show you. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to tee it up on the screen so I can show you these things next to each other. I think you're going to really enjoy it. They just made the character of Oscar. He just looks exactly like Will Smith. Like, look at these two pictures next to each other.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, he's got the exact same ears. Yeah. His like grin he's doing is exactly the same as this grin that Will Smith does. So it's like even that, like when I was watching it, I'm looking at Oscar and I'm like, this doesn't seem like a fish. This just seems like Will Smith. Like, it's just like you just put Will Smith into this film and made a fish who looks exactly
like Will Smith. Yes.
It's like, why did they do that? Like, it's fascinating. It reminds me, what you just said reminds me of another thing, a comment that Caroline made while we were watching it. In that early scene where Oscar is pretending to live in the billboard and talking about how much he covets the view that you would have living in that penthouse of the reef. Caroline turned to us and she was like, "You're in the water. Just swim up there. You can have that view anytime you want. Like, just like go up and you can look down at the reef." And there's all kinds of that stuff. Like, I feel like there are many things like that in this film that essentially like kind of hand waves away the in-universe rules, right? Like, it's like these people are fish. So they have like an entire way of engaging with physical reality that's like more three-dimensional than like you and me have as like land-dwelling creatures who like can't fly, you know? But like nothing like that ever happens in the movie. Like the characters just behave as though they're humans who can only walk on the ground. And there's like all kinds of stuff like that. And it does feel like, to your point, like I hadn't put this fine a point on it until you made these observations. Like the setting is totally incidental. Whereas like if you draw a contrast in Finding Nemo as like the Pixar fish movie, the fact that they're fish living in the ocean is essential to everything that the characters do. Like, it's like everything they do adheres to the in-universe rules. And like, there's all kinds of like little oblique references and the ways the characters behave and the way the physical action is depicted on screen that is like a necessary extension of the fact that these are fish living in a three-dimensional world instead of the largely two-dimensional plane that like we walk around on the ground. And it's just like, it's really interesting. It's a really, really fascinating film. I don't think this movie is good at all. I don't think that I have, or really came to the kind of thoughtful conclusions that you did while you were watching it. You're really a lot more insightful, I think, about this film than I am. But no, I don't like it. I don't really think there's anything good about it, honestly. Right? Can you think of anything good about it?
Listen, I gave it 2 stars, and I think I'm just the kind of guy who feels like even a bad Will Smith film is going to get 2 stars just because I like Will Smith.
I like Will Smith. Sure. He's good, right? I mean, who doesn't? So I guess that's fair. The performances are good, right? So there's that. Generally, the voice performances are good. Did I laugh at all during this movie? I don't remember laughing.
Oh man, you laughed. This is another thing that you skipped through in your recap.
Oh, nice. Okay.
You skipped past the infamous shrimp monologue. That friend of the pod,
the
Zoe,
monologue is funny.
Yeah, she sent to us as a letter that I declined to read during our 20th episode spectacular. But you and Caroline both laughed out loud at that monologue.
Well, there you go. So anyway, I don't really like anything about this film. I'm really torn between 1.5 and 2 stars.
Wow.
I think I have to go with 2 just because when I really compare this with the Savage Salvations of the world, the Killing Seasons of the world.
Oh, sure. The Bagman.
This isn't offensively bad, right? Like I had a fine time watching it. Like you said, the shrimp monologue made me laugh. I enjoy hearing Will Smith's voice. I enjoyed Jack Black's performance. I enjoyed Martin Scorsese's performance. It was fun hearing Michael Imperioli's voice and thinking about, him having gotten this role on the coattails of his star turn as a mobster in The Sopranos. But I didn't enjoy it, and I never want to watch it again. And so I think for that reason, it gets 2 stars from me.
All right. 2s all around.
Yep. So kind of on that note, Mike, do you have anything that you would recommend to some viewers instead of Shark Tale, or to many of our viewers who may be Gen Z folks who grew up loving this movie, in addition or as a chaser to Shark Tale?
Sure. I've been on a bit of a Will Smith kick, just unintentionally. It was total coincidence that we rolled Shark Tale when we did. So I watched the 2001 Michael Mann Muhammad Ali biopic, Ali, starring Will Smith as Muhammad Ali. But that's not what I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend a film that I watched just a few days ago for the first time. This is another Tony Scott film. I'm recommending his 1998 film, Enemy of the State, starring Will Smith and Gene Hackman. Oh, you gotta watch it, man.
I really want to watch that.
You got to watch it for a couple of reasons. So this came out in the late 90s, and it is essentially a then modern update of the 70s paranoid conspiracy political thrillers. So this is a really slick, high stakes political thriller where Will Smith plays a lawyer, a family man who gets caught up in this government surveillance conspiracy. And it co-stars Gene Hackman and essentially serves as a spiritual sequel to 1974's The Conversation, which is a film that I know you love. So
top 3 for me last year.
It's really neat because have you ever seen The Rock? The 1996 Michael Bay film. Yep. So that film, it stars Nicolas Cage and co-stars, who's the James Bond guy?
Pierce Brosnan.
The old one.
Sean Connery.
Yeah. Sean Connery. And Sean Connery plays a prisoner who it is alluded to is James Bond, like his version of James Bond, but just decades later. And in the same vein, I think this works pretty well if you just imagine Gene Hackman is playing his character from The Conversation, but 24 years later. So that was a lot of fun to watch.
Conversation?
Yeah, I watched it the same year you did. I watched it at your recommendation. I liked it a lot.
Okay. I don't really remember us talking about that.
I didn't like it as much as you did, but I did like it a lot. So Enemy of the State is a really fun movie, great time. It has that really slick, frenetic Tony Scott direction and editing. There's a lot of really just nonsense jargon and CGI shots of satellites rotating around the Earth. It's really fast paced. The bad guys are always nipping at Will Smith's heels, and it's a ton of fun. Very tense, solid supporting cast: Regina King, Jon Voight, Lisa Bonet, and total coincidence here, a young Jack Black. He has a minor supporting role as one of the IT guys on the bad guys team, the NSA. So if you're feeling that Will Smith itch hearing about Shark Tale, but you want to watch something that is better and more fun, I recommend 1998's Enemy of the State.
Well, I may well watch it tonight. The one thing that turns me off a little bit is it's 132 minutes long.
That'll do it.
I was really hoping for like a nice 110 or 115 when I tabbed over to the Letterboxd page, but it is on my watch list.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm going to go in a totally different direction with my recommendation. You may see this coming since we talked about it while we were watching Shark Tale as a kind of companion piece to this, at least in the seas of time that we're all sailing through. I would like to recommend the 2004 Brad Bird film, The Incredibles. So The Incredibles was the Pixar film that came out the year that this was the DreamWorks film.
Wow.
And this was
no competition.
Film. Yep. This was an early film for Brad Bird, right? Brad Bird is I don't know if Brad Bird honestly really gets his due, because you kind of compare him to some of the other really big Pixar directors whose names I'm like totally failing to think of right now.
John Lasseter,
like Pete Docter and John Lasseter, right? Like I feel like they're the ones who get like a lot of the kudos for having done a lot of the best Pixar films. But Brad Bird is an incredible director. He's an incredible director of animation. This was really kind of a follow-up to him, to his, I think, relatively poor performing 1999 film, The Iron Giant. Mike, have you ever seen The Iron Giant?
I've seen it, but it's been so long. I really don't remember it. And everyone says it's a masterpiece, so I should probably rewatch it.
It's a pretty incredible movie. I actually think The Iron Giant is better than The Incredibles, but I think that The Incredibles is more interesting to recommend here for a couple of reasons. One, because Pixar and DreamWorks were at war with one another, I think, for the box office during this period of time. Certainly not for critical reception. I don't think that any critic worth their salt would have suggested that there was any real conflict between the kind of late 90s to late aughts / early teens golden era of Pixar and the general schlock that DreamWorks was putting out at the time. But they certainly were competing for moviegoers' eyeballs. Something else that I find really interesting about this is, I didn't really think about this at all when we watched the film, and I didn't even realize it until I was reading about it earlier today, getting ready for this episode. Did you know that Hans Zimmer did the score for Shark Tale?
I did not know that. Boy, that would have been interesting to mention an hour ago.
Yeah, you sure wouldn't know listening to it.
No.
Because there was not a single string in the film that made any impression on me, even though Hans Zimmer is one of my favorite film composers. Probably my favorite film composer is Michael Giacchino. Michael Giacchino did the score for The Incredibles. And he was at a very different stage of his career in 2004. He has become a huge name in film scoring over the past 25 years, but he was pretty small at this time, whereas Hans Zimmer was he was at what at the time I think you would have thought was his peak, although his peak was still to come, right, with his Nolan collaborations from the early 2010s. And there is a complacency to Hans Zimmer's Shark Tale score that stands in stark contrast to the hunger and artfulness of Giacchino's score in The Incredibles. And you're really hearing a different side of Michael Giacchino in The Incredibles, I think, to what you hear, in, I think, his later work that he's probably most famous for, which would be like WALL-E and Up. Or what I think probably earned him this gig at the time, which was his work on Lost, which was, I think, one of the first TV scores that was extremely well critically received and got him a lot of buzz. But moreover, The Incredibles is just a fantastic film. To our earlier discussion, right? You think about what Pixar does well, or did at the time well, that DreamWorks has never done well, is make its settings a character in the film and something kind of intractable, for the characters. This is like a fantastical universe where there are superheroes, and it really leans into that. There is a timelessness to The Incredibles. There is a truth in the way the characters engage with their universe, and just a general feeling of cohesion to the way that everything in the film fits together. And it's just a beautiful film. The sequels, not as good, but they're not bad. But I would strongly recommend that you watch The Incredibles if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen the sequel, and I probably never will. I don't like that Pixar started getting into sequels. I will say, though, I mean, it's a great recommendation, the first one, and Brad Bird, notably also the director of my favorite Mission Impossible film, the fourth one, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. And you know who did the music in that film? That's right, Michael Giacchino. Love it. Great collaboration between them.
I also just want to go back and make sure. I'm sorry. I gave some misinformation earlier. It wasn't Michael Giacchino who did the score for WALL-E. It was Thomas Newman.
Wow.
Interesting. Well, there you go. So, stolen valor for Michael Giacchino. He's done a lot of amazing film scores. To your earlier comment, he also did the film score for Rogue One. I didn't really like it the first time I watched it, but the best thing about it to me was the score. I feel like in Rogue One, Michael Giacchino did a really nice homage to Star Wars music that had a little bit of his. I think there's a whimsy to his composition, I think, that John Williams doesn't always lean into, although he does at times in the Star Wars scores. And anyway, this has been a really long discussion about film composers, I guess. You should watch The Incredibles.
Yeah, you just spent more time talking about The Incredibles than you did Shark Tale.
Can we do an Incredibles episode?
Hell no.
Shit.
Fucking Pixar
It would have been
podcast.
a really funny bit. Here's a question for you. This is funny to think about, and now that I'm going to ask you, I can never actually do it. It would be funny if I did, though. How long do you think you'd have let me talk?
It's a good question.
It's funny to think about, right? Because would you at some point have felt comfortable interrupting me like 20 minutes in? Do you think eventually you would have just been like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how are you talking about this for so long?
I think when you were like, oh, I'm looking at my computer and I have to make a correction to information previously stated 3 minutes ago, I think I was coming pretty close to tapping out.
I think it would have been really funny if I just filibustered and like did a discussion on aughts era TV and film composers and The Incredibles that was 5 minutes longer than my plot summary of Shark Tale. I think that would have been a pretty funny bit, but I'll never do it now.
Everyone unsubscribes. How come no one made it to the end of the episode this week?
Oh God. Yeah. Man, there's a lot of film scores that Michael Giacchino's done that I didn't even realize.
He did the first two Star Trek films, man. They're awesome.
Yeah, those are really good scores.
They're so good.
Agree. They're amazing.
I love those films. I'm a shameless Star Trek Into Darkness fan. I don't even care.
Yep. Yeah, and he did, Inside Out, which is maybe my favorite Pixar score, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the movie, the music carries that film, I think. There's a lot I love about it, obviously. But I think that the music is such an integral part of the emotional journey it takes you on. And he's a really special guy. I love Michael Giacchino. All right. Well, De Niro Nation, Zoe, Mike, my co-host, thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of Our Hero De Niro. To repeat, I'd like to thank you, Mike, my co-host, for being here with me today. I'd like to thank my wife, Caroline, aka Bad Cree, for drawing our podcast fabulous cover art. And I would like to thank you again, citizens of De Niro Nation. You're making like a face right now, but like I'm doing something wrong. But I think I'm doing it all right. What am I doing wrong?
I don't know if you're like doing this intentionally, but
we have to actually do a roll.
Yeah.
Ah, shit. All right. Okay. All right. So this is your role,
yes,
right?
It always.
Okay,
it's
so
always
let's
the
go
person
back
who's
and I'll lead us in. Well, anyway, that was Shark Tale. Thanks, Mike, for a great discussion and for an excellent recommendation. I'm
happy to be here.
To watching Enemy of the State. And so now it is time to roll. Mike, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm thinking about Silver Linings Playbook.
That's the same for me. Let's see. What number is it?
It's 83.
So it's 83. All right.
Let's manifest it.
83.
All right.
Yep.
I'm going to roll that bone. You ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. 24. Nope. That's a repeat. Nope. That's Angel Heart. We did that one pretty recently. Okay.
Angel Fart. Yeah.
Angel fart. Oh, that was a great recap. Okay.
It really was. Yeah.
We're re-rolling, remanifesting 83 Silver Linings Playbook. And closer, but not quite. We got...
Good.
Actually... I don't really know. We got 55, which is the 2000 film Men of Honor.
Okay.
I feel like this is a film that I knew a lot, or I just remember hearing a lot about, or just being mentioned a lot back in the early aughts. But this was directed by George Tillman Jr. and it stars Robert De Niro and Cuba Gooding Jr. back when he was a mega star.
Yeah. It's a 42 on the old RT, a 56 on Metacritic, but a Roger Ebert 3-star. So it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. It's got Michael Rappaport in it. We've seen him before. He was in the Sylvester Stallone film. What was that called?
I know
it.
I'm
nice,
just
honestly. Copland. That was a good movie. I liked that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our second Michael Rappaport appearance, that's going to be a lot of fun. I really like him. And sure. I mean, I'm interested. Seems nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to recapping it next week.
Yeah, it's no Silver Linings Playbook, but there you go.
Now we'll just keep holding out.
All right. Well, that being said, I think that's going to do it for us today. I would like to thank you, Mike, for being my co-host week in and week out.
Oh, sure.
And I'd like to thank my lovely and talented wife, Caroline, a.k.a. Bad Cree, for creating this podcast wonderful cover art. And I would like to thank you, citizens of De Niro Nation, for joining us week in and week out, and for waiting so patiently for this, our most requested episode. Sorry my recap was so disappointing in light of all of the anticipation. I would like to invite you to follow Mike and I on Letterboxd. I am Mike the Fab, and he is Mike back at you. And I would like to invite you to please rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. And to strongly encourage you to please rate us 5 stars, because this is like driving Uber. If our average rating drops below a 4.93, no one's ever going to ride with us again. And I would...
You're taking longer on the outro than you did on the recap of the film.
And I would likewise like to invite you to write us a letter about literally anything at ourherodeniro@gmail.com. We just did the mailbag episode last week, so there's a little bit of a paucity of letters right now, and we would love to read some letters on air now that we're not saving them all for a mailbag episode. So please write us about literally anything. We'd love to hear it. And so I guess that's going to do it for us. We will see you all next week for the 2000 film Men of Honor being recapped by my buddy Mike. We'll see y'all next week.
See you later.